smart age-friendly housing, there's lots that you can read into that. So I think the first thing is looking at having a house that's fit for purpose. And so that for me is all about removing all the pain points in someone's house and looking at it beyond the physical. So you've got the need for shelter, for it to have good air quality, to have right temperature, and then also to look at some of the psychological needs that people have. So their need to be certain about what's going to happen in their day. How can they be sure who's coming to the door? These little things that should be designed in. I then think there's a whole section on pleasure, that we're pleasure-driven animals. So how can you make a home pleasurable for people? There are little things that people get used to. And the thing about pleasure is we adapt very, very quickly to things that are routine. So how can we add spontaneity and surprise into people's homes, whether that is the ability to have a warm shower or to turn on the music when we want to or play it at a loud blast. It's all under our control. And then I think we've got a challenge about how do you make housing related and connected. So making it accessible is a key part of that, because clearly if a house is accessible, you're more likely to visit someone and get out. But how can you make real meaningful connections, not have a house which is really accessible, but it's on its own, on an estate, and the person in there never gets out and never sees anyone. And that might be through technology, but it might be through engineering social connections, making it visible and easy to get out. And the last thing I think I'd think about designing in is around having purpose. So just giving someone a home doesn't make them happy. What makes somebody happy is feeling there's a reason for living. So while that might seem a bit bigger than physical housing environments we're looking at, I think it's hugely important for giving someone a reason to get up, a reason to live, and a reason to get out. I think the question around where are the best examples of age-friendly homes is a tough one, because I honestly can't think of any. And I don't think we actually build them. And if we do, then they're not promoted. And that's one of the problems of innovation. You have these great pilots and things that are done in the world, and then they're confined to being a example. So you hear about a university building smart age-friendly homes and testing them for the future. Well, that's great. But will it ever leave the confines of a university and be mainstream? How do you diffuse them? And there's a real gap around the diffusion of innovation. I think for me, the interesting is looking back in time when we used to build bungalows, and that's as close probably as I can get to age-friendly housing. But because we are so constrained by space and square footage is at such a premium, we're not building bungalows anymore. So naturally you've got stairs in houses, which, as you know, as you get older, things like stairs are much harder to get up. So how do we reverse the trend in the way that we look at housing and the cost per square metre, and start to look beyond a longer term about people's needs? Because while you might think cost per square metre of a house is important in the short term, longer term, the whole system's going to lose money by that person not being able to stay in their house with stairs, going to fall. And we know the cost of falls, even every single day to the NHS, is £4.6 million. So I think it's quite short-sighted at the moment, and there's a huge opportunity if somebody here or a group of people can really seize that opportunity and start to build age-friendly housing.